Hi, my name's Ian Wheatley, and we're going to take a look at how supply and demand is impacting the local housing market here in central New York. Hey, thanks for watching this video. You can like and subscribe if you want more content like this. You're probably seeing this because you caught on one of my social media platforms, or it was sent to you by one of my trusted partners at eXp Realty. We do have a fresh look at the latest housing data in my area of practice of central New York and in the Finger Lakes. And I did want to point out a few things. So if you're interested in the comments of this video, I do have another video that gives a bit of a broader look at the housing market and how improving mortgage interest rates, but really primarily fewer houses being for sale, is going to continue to lead to higher housing prices. And here, I want to take a look at a little bit more of the local trends and a little bit of seasonality, and maybe we can try to figure out when the best time is to buy or sell a home here in central New York and in upstate New York broadly. The answer for a buyer is when they can afford it, and the answer for a seller is when it makes the most sense for them to sell their property. And when we think about this in terms of like retirement, when you put a little bit away frequently into investments, that's called dollar cost averaging. And the long-term data shows and bears out that put in $100 away, every week, like 52 times a year, as opposed to trying to take that same $5,200 and dump it into the market all at once when it dips. That's rarely effective. And the stats do show that you miss out on the interest gained over the longer term, and you also rarely actually hit the absolute bottom of that market because you're not a financial expert. Most Americans and central New Yorkers, they typically have, at least certainly the buyers and sellers that I work with, have most of their net worth in their home. So it's reasonable to draw these parallels between our investments for retirement and our houses and apply the best practices from financial planners to buying a house. It should inform what we are doing. And just like that Nike slogan, just do it. So again, if you want a little bit more substance about the lower housing supply and improving interest rates continuing to move prices higher, check out the video that I have linked up in the comments below. So here in central New York, I do like to take a look at the long view. That's where I typically like to start. And what we see is we had a period of fairly stable housing prices, some moderate appreciation over a couple of years. And then beginning about 2018 or so, we saw this massive acceleration in the median sale price. So a little note on this data, what we're looking at is we're looking at what's called the rolling 12-month average. And what that is basically, as opposed to looking at each individual month as a data point on this graph, what we are actually looking at is a year ascribed to that month. So each data point on this graph is actually a 12-month average. So this is great for seeing a broader trend. It's not the best at identifying seasonality and seeing the natural rise and fall over the course of a given year of a sale price in my region, because there is a natural rise and a fall as the year goes on. And when we set this graph to show each separate month over that same period of time, we see that seasonality represented, that rise and fall, again, over this same period. But taking a look, again, this is, my local data here to central New York. This is, from 2018 through today, where we saw this acceleration. We see the same natural rise and fall. It hasn't been a straight trajectory. There is a little bit of seasonality involved, but to really drive the answer home that, in this period of acceleration, that the crux of the issue is all about supply and demand, it's good to take a look at over this same 5-year period, new listings. And again, going back to seeing each individual data point, it's kind of hard to see the trend. But when we take a look at, how, the rolling 12-month period, when we look at this data a little bit differently, what we see is a pretty obvious story of what's happened in my local market in terms of new listings. And year over year, new listings are down nearly 12% from February 2022 through February 2023. And when we compare that to prior to the good clip before the coronavirus pandemic, we go back to, February 2017 through February of 2018, that data point that you see there, I mean, we are down a third from there. And again, taking the same 5-year period or so over the same region, what we see in the median sales price being represented is we are up more than a third from where we were going back to, February and March of 2018 over this same period. So if you do want a broader look at why buyer demand in the face of falling supply is causing housing prices to keep going higher and higher, you can check out the video that I do have posted in the comments here. But just a little bit of a point on seasonal cycle and the rising and falling of housing prices. I do advise my clients that when we are taking a look at the broader economic forces in the marketplace and, inform the buyer historical trends, we should generally expect another year of historically high prices, but it is less likely that we're going to set a local record, at least here in town. So, some may panic and say that there's depreciation in the market, but, sometimes you got to let off the gas a little bit. And it is okay if we don't actually temporarily exceed last year's temporarily high price, because here's the thing. We remain at historically high sale prices and housing values, and will likely see prices move higher as the year goes on. And as things stand today, we remain 5% higher than we were a year ago, again, in my area of practice of Central New York specifically. So what should the takeaway be? Well, the bottom line is the bottom isn't falling out. And, I plan to get a video out in the next week or so about depreciation projections for this year and how they're already being revised, particularly by the likes of Goldman Sachs. And the last point, I swear, is that we are in this time of year where prices historically start to accelerate and turn that corner. So if you have been thinking about buying and you can't afford it, or if you're worried that you might have missed out on the best time to sell, I want you to reach out to me or my EXP partner that shared this video with you, because we'll work with you and we'll help you achieve your individual goals. My name's Wheatley. Thank you for watching.